Hello all. In this video, we'll go over IT systems. That is, all the technical concepts in information technology projects on a high level for business analysts and scrum masters. Please do go over this video till the end. And if there's any questions, please do comment below. I will get back to you as soon as possible and I will respond to your comments. Let's go to the training. Today we'll start with systems. If you're not able to see the screen, let me know. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. So now, generally, when you go into a client location, you, as a business analyst, you have to talk to the developers, testers, DevOps team, maybe a SQL developer or a Java developer. And even business, sometimes when they talk, they'll talk about data coming in from another application, from another database and all that. So in that case, you have to know what they are talking to you. At the same time, you have to be able to respond intelligently. That is the reason why I have drafted a course named Systems. So systems, you'll be learning about all the technical part of IT on a very high level. Now, say for example, I'm not going to tell you how to code, but I'm going to teach you everything on a very high level so that you can get an understanding of how an application works on a high level. Now, say for example, we all understand the concept of photosynthesis, but then exactly what happens on a molecular level, we might not know. At the same time, we might not know how to construct a microwave oven, but we know how to use it. So through this course, I'm going to teach you how to use the microwave oven, but it's not intended to construct one, but it's intended to use one. So as long as you're able to use a microwave oven, it all looks good. And you'll be able to understand a lot of things. It will give you the glasses to see things that you will not otherwise see. So this will give you a high level overview of everything. So that's the primary reason why I have drafted the systems. And if you ever give interviews and if you're going to talk about features and functionalities in the interview, if you talk about systems, you'll be able to crack the interview. The chances of you cracking the interview will go up many times. Having said that, let's start with basics of what is an application. Okay, so an application, behind the screen, this is what is happening. Okay, this is the front end, or you can call it UI, front end or UI. So let me use another color. Okay. So this is the front end or UI, and this is the code behind, and this is the, so let me write it out. Okay, code behind, and this is the common code, and this is called adapter. Okay, this button, so that's why I'm drawing it like this, and this is database. So this is how an application will look behind the screen. Okay, now let's start with front end. So everything that you see on the screen when you open an application. So let me open an application on my computer. So I'm going to open Amazon.com. Okay, I'm actually opening it in my computer as we speak. I'll also be sharing my screen and I'll be showing you. So okay, so when you open an application, whatever you see in the front end, so whatever you see in the screen, so that is called front end. So I'm able to see, hello, select your address. I just opened it in my laptop. It says home and garden magazines, workspace upgrades on budget, and it has Amazon logo in the left. So everything that I see on the screen is front end. It's here. It's right here. Front end. So what is code behind? So code behind is the code, the business logic, the code for that page. So that page is going to do multiple activities, right? So you might be able to enter your name in there. You might be able to enter your age in there. You might be able to click a button and then it's going to give you some info. So all these things will be taken care by the code behind. And this is dedicated to that page alone. So this code, so let's say for example, in Amazon. I'll also screen share and show you. But then it has a lot of organizers, your closet and budget section. So if I click on something, it takes me to another page. So there is a business logic for that, right? If you click on it, it says, if you click on something, if there is a shoe, if you click on it, it says size 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 plus. That is, if you click on a drop down, it shows 5 options. That is possible using the code behind. Or say, for example, if you are applying for a job, and then in here, at least in the US, it's going to ask for your visa status. So it's going to ask, are you a citizen? First question, it will come. When you are applying for the job, it will ask you, are you a citizen? You will select yes or no. If you select no, are you a green card holder or a permanent resident? I think it's one and the same. Are you a permanent resident? You can click on yes, the questions will stop. If you click on no, which type of visa are you in? It will give you a list of 10 visa. You can click one visa, and it will ask another question. Do you need any sponsorship in the future? If you click on no, and if you click on no, it will throw your it will. If you click on no, then it will stop. If you click on yes, also it will stop, because you cannot dig deeper than that, right? So all that is possible. See, if the user had clicked, I am a citizen, yes, then all the other questions will not show up. Now there is a brain behind for this, correct? That is taken care of by the code behind. This one, code behind. Any questions? I'll also be showing this, but then in an application, but then I want to explain this first. So no questions. Okay, I'll take it as a no. Okay, now what is common code? Okay, now let's talk about common code. Okay, now there is a feature, it is called returns and orders. Okay, in Amazon, which I'll show you. I'll share the screen and also show you. So this returns and orders button, it's going to come no matter what page I click. So there is a page called today's deals. There is a page called customer service. And I'm actually clicking on it right now as we speak, and I'll be sharing my screen. And there's a page called new releases. So no matter what page I click, it's going to show me, it's going to show the returns and order button, returns and orders button. So that button, the code for that button. So if I click on that, it performs multiple activities. Returns and orders will perform multiple activities, right? So if you have some orders, it's going to show that. You can maybe click on one and it will show the list of returned items that were returned and all the orders that were placed, and you could maybe revisit and see what was the price that you paid, or what's the return status and all that. So that page is there everywhere. And the sign in button, there is another button called sign in button. Hello, sign in, account and list. That button is also there in all the pages. It's throughout multiple pages. Okay. If that's the case, if there's going to be a feature that is going to span across multiple pages, that is going to be in the code behind. So the code that is driving that feature is in the code behind part of the application. It's in the code behind. It's placed separately. So think of it like this, right? So if you're sharing your room with 4 other roommates, so all the 4 roommates, you guys have your own room. But then if you plan to buy a TV that all the 4 of you are going to use, you will not keep it in your bedroom, correct? You'll keep it in the hall. You'll keep it in the living room. Likewise, since this feature is going to be across multiple pages, it will be there in multiple pages. So the code will be placed in the common code. The code that is driving that feature. Only if you type in a lot of code, the feature will be working, and it will drive. It will work as it's supposed to work. So the code that's going to drive the feature will be in the common code part of the application. It's going to be in the common code, not the code behind. Code behind is only for that separate page. Common code, the code is placed in the common code if it's going to be across multiple pages. Any questions? This understanding is very important. Okay, no questions. Okay, I'll take it as a no. And so the next concept is database. Okay, so this is the database. Now, so everything that you see on the screen is driven by data. Okay. Now, say for example, if I'm going to click on the returns and orders button, and all the return information is coming up. It is coming from a database, or all the orders are coming up. It is coming from a database. It's all the data is sitting in a database. That is the database. That is this. So all the info that you see in the application is actually coming from, it has to be placed in a database. The database requires some physical space to be stored. For it to be housed, it requires a server, some sort of a physical space. Though you say a lot of cloud database or cloud, though you call it cloud, it is still a physical space. They outsource it to another entity, and then that entity will take care of the data, and then they call it cloud, is how I'm understanding it. But then it's still stored in a physical location. So even if you store your items in Google, it is still stored in it's actually stored in a physical location. Instead of storing it in your hard disk, they are saying, okay, give it to me. I will keep it for you, because they want your data. But still, they are actually keeping it in a physical location, in a server. So at the end of the day, that root concept, that basic concept is same. So data will be in the database, which will be housed in a server, is how I'm understanding it, but then definitely in a database. And what is adapter? Now, before I explain adapter, I want to explain something else. So what kinds of code do you use in front end? Anybody? Examples of some front end code, UI coding language.
JavaScript.
Good. Okay.
PHP.
HTML, CSS, right? So that's good. So all these languages are used in the front end. Okay. So what are the languages that are used? So now one more thing, the code behind and common code put together, we call it middle tier. My handwriting is bad. I'm very sorry. I want to improve this. I want to make sure that it looks legible. Okay. So the code behind and common code put together is called middle tier. So what are all the middle tier coding languages? Java, .NET, Python. Python can be used in the back end too, but then definitely in the middle tier. Any other coding languages? Anything that you guys are aware of? Okay. So these three examples, we can use these three as an example. They are middle tier coding languages. Okay. What are some of the types of databases that you are all aware of?
SQL.
Yeah, SQL is a query, structured query language. When you say data, yeah, you're right. SQL Server database, yes.
Yeah.
So SQL itself is called structured query language, that is to query the data. And the Microsoft has SQL Server database. I think it's owned by Microsoft. I might be wrong. Yeah, I think it's owned by Microsoft. Next is another type of database is Oracle. That is also popular, right? You all might have heard Oracle database, SQL Server database. There are multiple other databases, but two good examples would be Oracle and SQL Server. If you go into an organization, there is a very good chance that they are using Oracle, right? Now, what is adapter? Okay. Now, the database is using the SQL language. It is talking some other language, SQL. The middle tier is using some other languages. It might be Java or .NET. So they will not be able to interact. So adapter is a 3-line code that facilitates the interaction of middle tier and the database or backend. You can call it backend or database. So the adapter, which is a 3-line code, I have drawn it like this. I have drawn adapter like this, but at the end of the day, it's a 3-line code. I have drawn it like this for your understanding. That will facilitate the interaction between the common code, the middle tier and the database. Any questions?
Can you please repeat that explanation about the adapter?
Explanation about which one? Database?
Adapter.
Okay. Adapter is a 3-line code. Okay. It's 3 to 5 lines of code. So what it does is, why we need adapter is, we want the middle tier. What is middle tier? Code behind. So let me use another color. Okay. So what is adapter? What is middle tier? Code behind and common code put together, we call it adapter, right? So now, the middle tier, common code and code behind combined together, it's the middle tier. So the middle tier and the database must talk to each other. But the database is using SQL and it's speaking another language. It's coded out of another programming language. The middle tier will be coded out of another programming language, right? Okay, it came out of the thing. Okay, so this will be coded out of the middle tier will be coded out of an other programming language. Now these two languages cannot interact with each other without some assistance. So that is why we need adapter, which is a 3 to 5 line code, which facilitates, which will help the middle tier and database to interact. They are talking two different languages. It will act like a translator or a facilitation mechanism, and it will make sure that these two database and middle tier, these two entities can talk to each other, can interact with each other.
Do we need an adapter for code behind and middle tier? I mean, common code too?
Not common code. So code behind and common code put together, we call it middle tier. It's both, right? So for the middle tier and the database to talk to each other, to interact, if that interaction is not there, when you click on orders, your order history will not come in Amazon, right? For that, the middle tier and database must talk. So this adapter will act as a facilitator, and it will help these two to translate, and it will help that connection to take place. That's why we need adapter. Did I answer the question? Hello, Anbu?
Yes, I got.
Okay. So I think another person also asked. So did I ask? Okay, Jatin, you also got it, right?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
That's good. Okay. So now let me share my screen in my laptop, and I'll show it in an application that we all use, right? So okay, how do I do this? So if you want, you can just maybe take a screenshot of this, because if I move it to the other system, this will go. So if you want, you can take a screenshot or a photo or just draw it in your rough note. So I'll just give.
After this session, you will get this recording.
Correct. I'll send you the recording. Okay. So let's.
I have a quick question.
Correct. Yeah, go ahead.
Is this the first class for the BA? Like you started with systems, so I'm wondering.
Yes. So this is the first class for business analysis. As a part of business analysis, I also cover systems. So this is the first lesson for systems.
Okay. So I thought like what BA will do and what the role will that be discussed. I mean, just for the understanding.
Yes. So that will be discussed in the BA part, but then we are covering this. The purpose of covering this is for you to understand what other entities are talking. For the BA has to understand when somebody says, I want 5 weeks to code for this display text, then you have to understand whether that is a genuine estimate or not, right? When somebody says the data is going to move from another database, so we need to have some sort of a data mapping in place. So go and talk to the DBA to get that data mapping. So now you have to have some basic knowledge on systems to go and interact with the database administrator and do the data mapping. Though data mapping is simple, but then you have to understand what the database administrator is going to tell you, right? So that is the reason for you to be very comfortable in the organization and talk to everyone. So that's why we are starting with systems. And then in the BA sessions, we'll talk about business analysis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So when it comes to front end, all the front end code. So we've talked about the front end and the UI, right? So everything that you see on the screen is front end. The code is sitting in the front end. Now, if you are able to see all these things, or a display text, new releases in clothing, shoes, and jewelry, this is coming from the front end. Now, when it comes to code behind, so when I click on this, it's taking me to another page. So the business logic behind this is present in the code behind. Okay. So let's say, for example, I think that's the only thing that's here. So when I click on something, it will take me to a specific page. So that business logic is in the code behind. And say, for example, so these are all different pages. Now, this is the home page. So just think about this button and this button, and then think about this button and this search bar. Okay, just take a note of it. I'm going to change pages. I'm going to go into another page. If you see all these things, I just went into another page, but all these things are coming. I'm going to another page. So this, okay, customer service page. Okay, all these features are still displayed here. I'm going to click on books. Again, all these features are displayed here. So the code for all these features on the top, it is present in the common code. Right? Why is it placed in the common code? Because all the pages are using this code. Right? So the TV is used by everybody in the house. So we are just placing it in the living room. Likewise, this code is used by multiple pages. Hence, it's placed in the common. So now, say for example, if I have to see all my orders, if I click on this, now I don't have that. I'm not logged in. But then, let's say if it is books, and if I search for my favorite book, which is Wishes Fulfilled. Okay, this is the first book. Okay, so now all these items are coming up, right? All these things are coming up. So it's coming from a database. I queried something, I searched for something. Based on these keywords, all these things are coming up, right? It's also showing Wishes Fulfilled book, and it's also showing all the other books related to Dr. Dyer, right? Now this is coming from a database. So this is where the database comes into the picture. Any questions? Okay, nice. Okay, so now I'm going to go into another concept called web services, and I'll just give an overview of web service because I don't want to overload everybody with information today. I want to take the systems session slowly so that everybody is in cadence and everybody is able to understand what we are talking about. So now this is web service. I will draw everything and I'll show you. But then before I draw it, I want you to understand where web services come into the picture. Why do we use web services? Why is it coming into the equation? Okay, web service. I'm sorry. Now this is called kayak.com. Okay, kayak. I think it's just like it's another very famous website for booking flights and hotels in India. I'm not able to remember the name. I think it was endorsed by some other famous actor. But then, okay. So this is like a website. Now, let's say if you search for a flight in Kayak, it's going to pull up data from United Airlines. It's going to pull up data from American Airlines, from Indigo, from Indian Airlines, Indian Airways or Indian Airlines, SpiceJet. It's going to pull up information from multiple airways, multiple airlines. So how is it doing? So Kayak is just an individual entity. It's a private firm. It's a private company. But then nobody will give all their data to Kayak, right? So nobody is going to give access to Kayak's database. I'm sorry, to the airline's database. So if I'm American Airlines and I have a lot of sensitive information in my database, I'm not going to hand over I'm not going to give access to the data. I'm not going to give external entities access to my database because it's private and I have a lot of sensitive information in there. So I'm not going to let Kayak go and access my database. Or any other, there's also Skyscanner, which does the same thing that Kayak does. So I'm not going to give, as American Airlines, I'm not going to give them access to my database. So now let's say I'm searching for a flight. Okay, so drop off. Okay, I'm going to click on flight and I'm going to from Austin to New York. Okay, so now when I hit search, it's going to show up everything, right? It's showing result from Spirit Airlines. That's it. Delta, JetBlue, Southwest. So it's talking to United Airlines. See how many results are coming up. So my question is, how do they know? How is Kayak knowing the schedule of United Airlines and Southwest? So how is it knowing all that? How is it knowing the schedule of JetBlue? So most definitely they don't have access to JetBlue's database. They don't have that access. So how do they know all these things? This is where web service comes into the picture, right? This is where web service comes into the picture. So what web service does is, for these two applications to talk to each other, web service will be the translator, or web service will facilitate the interaction between Kayak and Spirit or United Airlines. And every time we do a search, or every time the web service is used, meaning I used it right now, I manually triggered it right now in this session. So every time when it's used, or every time when they make purchases via Kayak, there will be a service level agreement. So based on that agreement, Kayak has to pay some money to that airline because they are using their data through a web service, right? So that will have service SLA. It's called SLA, service level agreement, right? So what is web service doing? I will draw everything and show you. But then, so what is web service doing? It makes sure application A, which is Kayak, application B, which is American Airlines, A and B, two different applications, has two different databases. They will not give permission for anyone to enter their database. Now, for these two applications to interact, when I say interact, Kayak is showing all the schedule of JetBlue, Spirit, and all that. That interaction in real time. When I search now, the real-time results from the database of American Airlines is coming to Kayak. Okay, so that kind of an interaction is facilitated, is made possible by a web service. Okay, otherwise it's not possible. So this is what a web service does on a very high level. Okay, so now let me draw any questions. Any questions so far? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So now I'm going to draw it and show. Okay. So now I'm going to share my screen again and I'm going to show. Okay. Okay. So this is application A. So for your understanding, I'm just going to draw it like I drew it before. Okay. So whenever you hear the word application, this figure must come to your mind. You have to encrypt this in your mind. Okay. This is one application. This is the adapter. Okay. This is another application. Okay. Right. So now for these two applications to interact with each other, for this interaction to take place, this is facilitated by a web service. So this is what I have explained using the Kayak and the other airlines example. So when I do the search, so this is Kayak, this is Kayak, and this is American Airlines. So when I do the search right here, it will go to the middle tier, and then the web service gets triggered manually. It goes here, then it goes to the database, picks up the information, and again shows it in the front end. That's what the web service is doing. It all happens in the real time. So we can call it a day. So today, what did we cover? So we've covered application. What is an application? What goes on behind the screen? Okay. So this is what is front end, what is code behind, what is front end, what is middle tier, what is back end, what is UI, what is code behind, what is common code, and examples of all these elements. For front end, it is going to be HTML, CSS, JavaScript. For code behind and common code, which is combined together, called middle tier. So what are all the examples? Python, Java, .NET. And for a database, it is Oracle, SQL Server Integration Database, and all these things, right? And then what is an adapter? What does it do? And what is a web service? Why do we need a web service? I've just given a brief introduction into what is a web service and why do we need it? What is it accomplishing? So tomorrow we'll go in depth into what a web service is. We'll go in depth into web service, and then we'll cover some other topics too tomorrow. So we'll call it a day because I don't want to overload everyone with information. And so any questions so far? Any questions? Okay, I'll take that as a no.
I have a doubt here. We saw this as a kind of theory. Can we visualize this so that we can understand this?
Yeah, which one do you want to visualize more?
Kind of these sports, like a small project kind of thing. Because I'm new to all these sports, that's why I'm asking. Is it enough to attend any interviews, or if they are these languages, right?
Yeah. So you don't need to know. Okay, that's a good question. So now you don't need to know Java, you don't need to know JavaScript and all, you don't have to know, because if you take middle tier coding languages, there is so many coding languages. You cannot know everything. You cannot know Python, Java, .NET. Okay, even a Java developer will not know .NET. A .NET developer will not know Python. A Python developer will not know some PHP or some other language, or he or she might not be familiar with database administration. So, but you have to know that when I say Java, you have to know that it is used in a middle tier. It's used here. You have to know that much. That is what you have to know. When I say Java, Java is used here. When I say .NET, .NET is used here in the middle tier. So that is what you have to know. You don't have to know to code. So this will more than suffice. In fact, everything that we are covering right now is nice to have. This is not even a part of it. This is something that's out of scope, but I have brought it in scope so that you can really navigate the real-time environment easily and smoothly. So you don't need to know how to code and all. That's not the vision. The vision is to get a high-level understanding. So whatever I taught you today, if you get an understanding of that is well and good. We don't need to know HTML or CSS or JavaScript and all. That's actually, there are designated developers for that, if that answers your question.
Okay.
Just understand what the concept that I'm teaching, that would more than suffice, and go through the video, that will more than suffice. You'll get an understanding of how things work. Okay, so any other questions?
I mean, I was thinking, like you said, JavaScript and HTML is a front end, and the common code can be Java and .NET. So is there any other? I mean, how they talk to each other? If you can explain for anyone here.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm talking about that is, and we will talk about this in the upcoming sessions too. If it's going to be a change in the front end, it's going to be really fast. So let's say if we are going to just change a display text, it can be done in an hour. But then when you touch the business logic, so when I say business logic, it cannot be coded in the front end. It cannot be coded in using HTML or CSS, because these are all front end language. Here, front end is here, right? So this is not the business logic. This is just front end. Whatever you see on the screen, that is welcome, that display text. So all that is coded in the front end. So when they say it's gonna take 3 or 4 weeks to code for something in the front end, then you know that estimate is not correct. At the same time, if it's going to be coded here in the middle tier, right, it's going to be in Java or .NET or Python. So when you code something in the middle tier, that means what are you doing? You're touching the business logic. So when I say business logic, what is business logic? So business logic is the example that I gave. Maybe in your case, if you're applying for a job or something, they'll definitely ask status as a citizen or a PR or a visa holder, work permit holder. So now if you, it's not gonna, so first question will be, are you a citizen? If you say yes or no, next question, are you a PR holder? Next question, are you a work permit holder? The next question, likewise, it keeps on going, right? So that is what is called business logic. If you had selected yes, are you a citizen, then all the other questions will not come up. So if it's going to be business logic, so that is what is called business logic, brain behind. So when that is involved, it will be Java and .NET and Python, and many other languages are there actually. You can just Google examples of middle tier or coding languages. Many examples will come. 3 good examples for our conversation purposes: Java, .NET and Python. So if they are going to touch that, and if they are going to make changes to that will be relatively a larger work. So that is what you have to understand. And then if they touch the database also, it's going to take some time, So if you have that much understanding, that will more than suffice. So what is happening in the front end? All the display text are displayed in the front end. All the business logic is in the middle tier. All the data is coming from the database. That understanding, if you have, that will more than suffice.
Okay.
But if you don't even have this understanding, also it is enough actually. Many BAs who come into the market who are new to the role, they don't know all these things. They'll come and then they just pick it up right there. But then if you know this even before you enter into a client location, it will really help you out. And if you know this before attending interviews, and when you can talk about all these things, So if you say something like, in my previous organization, there was a bug, and I think it was in the common code, so it was affecting multiple pages. If you say something like that, you look like a very attractive candidate to the committee, to the interview committee, or to the employers. So that is the purpose of doing this. At the same time, it will also help you to work in day-to-day, perform all the day-to-day activities. Okay. So thank you all. Thanks for your time. So we'll connect tomorrow, same time. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message or an email. We'll discuss further. So thank you. Thanks for your time. We'll see you tomorrow.